Am I the idiot for telling my step-siblings to take a DNA test? I, female 34, am the firstborn child from my father's, male 68, second marriage. My dad married his previous wife, female 62nd, most likely above 65, very young as she had gotten pregnant with my oldest half-brother Mark, male 48. They had 2 more children in total together, Mindy and Martin, female 44, and male 40. They got divorced because his previous wife was cheating on him with another married man. He later on married my mom a few years later and were 4 siblings in total, me, Adam, Anna and Aaron. Male 30, female 26, and 23, male. There have always been rumors that my 2 youngest half-siblings, Mindy and Martin, aren't my dad's but the AP's children, but we've dismissed them as we don't have much of a relationship with them from the get-go. Their mother is a really toxic person who we've avoided most of our lives, and because of her the relationship between our step-siblings has always been strained. Dad is a hugely successful business owner and he has always provided for all his children. He has paid for all our education so we all could live a debt-free life, has helped with businesses or getting us work. Even helped us buy our own homes. A few years ago when Martin was jailed for fraudulent checks, my father paid off all his fines, bail and lawyer fees, which included the amount he owed, all $300K in total. Yet he hasn't received so much as a thank you from any of my half-siblings. On the other hand, they constantly fight with him, accusing him of liking my siblings and I over them and resenting my mother for no apparent reason. They've always used their father as a money bag and felt entitled to it. In fact, Mark recently came over to Dad and told him that he needs to know what Dad intends to leave them in his will to make sure they will be treated fairly. This pissed me off as Dad is healthy and fit as ever. I suggested all of Dad's children take a DNA test, then we can go over his will and what he wishes to leave us. Apparently this was the wrong thing to say. Soon I was getting angry calls from my half-siblings and their mother calling me all sorts of names, and my stepmother even called me a wicked foolish little wench. While Dad hasn't said much on the matter, he has become awfully quiet, which is what he does when he's upset, whether it's with me or my half-brother, which I'm unsure about. My mother did say that I shouldn't have said anything, knowing how volatile my stepmother and step-siblings can be, and we could have dealt with this issue when the time was right. So am I the idiot here? Edit. Apologies as I'm not a native English speaker, but I meant half-siblings and previous wife instead of step-siblings and stepmother. Edit. I feel there needs to be more backstory, as some of you think I'm being greedy or want the money for myself. That's not the case. While I thank my dad as I wouldn't be where I am today without his help, I'm very financially stable and can live a comfortable life without his inheritance. Same goes for most of my siblings. Only the youngest, who has chosen to join my father's business, is slightly dependent on him, but he is a very hard worker and my father is very proud of him. As for my half-siblings, when we were kids my father tried to take Mark under his wing and had him join the company. Taught him all the ropes, and as in every work environment you're expected to wake up early and do your job. Mark didn't like this, calling my father a bad father as he was spoiling us rotten, yet expected him to act as his slave. He was an adult then but wanted to be treated the same as a child, to wake up late, not have any responsibilities and get paid for doing basically nothing. His mother backed him up and badmouthed my father wherever she went. After a huge fight where he insulted my father in front of his employees, my dad fired him. Mark says he quits. It was the same with the other 2. Mindy started a fight, bringing her mother along to face my father as to why her mother doesn't have nice jewelry like my mother does and how he raised them in poverty. My father's business was in the early stages then, but they were far from poor. They went to the best private schools and my father got their mother diamond rings, expensive necklaces, and even bought her gold bangles from a trip to Iran. Yes, it wasn't as much as today, but they still felt she was entitled to the same treatment as his current wife, my mother. All the while, their mother sat silent, acting like the victim. That's why I say this isn't the first time they've done this, and I hate to see my dad's blood pressure go up because of them. He's the type of person who'll go silent when angry, then blow up like a volcano when provoked to the point of no return. And it's always because of my half-siblings. This might seem like a lie, but we value our father more than the money. So I told them to get a DNA test to put them in their place. The money they feel entitled to, and the father they have been bad-mouthing all these years, all for a woman who has been lying and manipulating them all their lives. Yes, I did it out of pettiness, but if I'm being honest, I don't regret it one bit. In fact, I wish I had said it sooner. I'll take the idiot title with pride if it comes to it. Update. The last few days have been eventful, to say the least. After the original post, I sat down with my dad and we talked about the issue a bit. I began by apologizing if my behavior upset him, and if he wants me to never bring up the issue again, I won't. He laughed for a bit, as is his nature, then told me how he always liked that I check up on him. It's been a habit of mine ever since I was a kid to check up on my parents if they were upset with me after I had done something that didn't please them. We reminisced a few of those stories before he got to the point. Obviously, the thought that Martin and Mindy might not be as had crossed his mind, but in our culture, being an illegitimate child, or having an affair, or the fact that your wife cheated on you with another man is thought as shameful at the time, so not many people knew outside the family. That's why his previous wife was able to twist the narrative and blame my father and his family for abandoning them. She told her children that my father's sister conspired against her and my dad threw her out, which was why they had so much resentment for him and his family all these years. My father said he doesn't give much value to money, as over the years he's seen many losses and many profits, but he wants to keep his name, so he asked me to never bring up the issue as long as he's alive. Although he did give us the option to seek it after his death. I apologized to him again profusely and told him I'm not interested in ever bringing up the subject ever again. I'm also thinking of talking with my own siblings, and I think they'll be understanding and will accept Dad's wishes. My dad also said while he has had his doubts about Martin, he feels Mindy is his as she has a striking resemblance to his mother. She died when my dad was 14 and the only picture we have of her is really blurry, so I can see how he missed that. Dad also asked me to be in charge of going over his will with the others. But I told him that was a bad idea as Mark wouldn't take it well after our last confrontation, so I suggested an older cousin who's a bit younger than Mark. While the cousin is fair and neutral on the subject, Mark doesn't like him one bit cause he's a really successful businessman and Mark is all talk and no show, so it'll be entertaining to say the least. Then I got a call from Mindy last night. I thought she'd blow up on me, but she was very civil the whole time. Out of the three, Mindy is probably the only one who has had some sort of a fatherly relationship with Dad, and the few times she has lashed out was most likely under the influence of her mother. She opened up to me how she has had doubts about her identity her whole life, and me bringing it up really hurt her. I can't go over the whole conversation because of the character limit, but I got what you all were saying. I truly was taught. I never thought that my comments, which I thought were only targeting Mark, could hurt so many people. I ended up apologizing to her and told her how wrong I was and that I had no intention of bringing up the subject ever again. I won't go over the details of Dad's will cause it doesn't matter except my inheritance. While still a lot of money, I won't lie about that. Is on the smaller side compared to the others, half-siblings included, and that was the intention even before the argument, as I'm the most financially well-off amongst the siblings. I realize now how wrong I was, and from now on if I feel the need to defend myself against Mark or his mother or anyone else, I'll make sure my comments don't hurt anyone else. Thanks to everyone for opening my eyes to how wrong I was. Everyone sucks here. Just as a note with respect to the will, your dad should probably hire an attorney to be the executor. Any family member, no matter how fair-minded or uninvolved, is a recipe for old issues to resurface or grudges to be born that will haunt your family forever after. Especially because there's a substantial inheritance at stake and there's already personal animosity between one of your siblings and the cousin in question. This is just a time bomb waiting to blow up at exactly the wrong time when you and your family should be able to focus on grieving, not the idiot. Thanks for the update. See, I knew your dad might have figured something was up. But like you said, if you had your dad use someone else to do his will after he is gone, you should at least put in a stipulation that everyone must get a DNA test done. If they refuse, they forfeit the inheritance. If they take the test and they aren't his child, they get nothing and the share gets split into the other shares. This could make it easier. Was Opus being greedy? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for telling my stepdaughter to leave the house after she called me a homewrecker? My stepdaughter and I don't have a good relationship. I have been in her life since she was 9. Her father and I started dating 3 months after he filed for divorce. We were colleagues for a short while, about a year before their divorce, but we didn't have any relationship back then. I left the firm just 6 months after we started working together. I didn't even think about him once till we reconnected at a party hosted by one of our colleagues. His ex-wife thinks that he had an affair with me. There is nothing we can do to convince her otherwise. She told her daughter about her suspicions when she was around 13. We had a great relationship till then, and I tried to tell her that her dad didn't cheat. She doesn't believe us. It is just our words against her mother, and the timeline does look a bit suspicious. She withdrew from me and she has always been distant since then, and sometimes she made some remarks about her father being a cheater, and it was very hard on both of us. It was something we tried to talk about, but it was just our words against her mother's, and she truly believed it. She returned home for summer break after her freshman year. She decided to spend most of the time with her mother, but she does visit us a few times. She visited us 2 days ago. She was in a remarkably bad mood. She was just stewing in silence and watching something on TV. I asked her to turn the volume down as I was working. She blew up on me. She called me a homewrecker and a gold digger. She accused me of ruining her parents' marriage. I was stunned and shocked, and it hurt me. I knew she didn't like me, but she clearly hated me. I think her calling me a gold digger hurt the most. I am at a stage of my career where I want to switch to something less stressful, but one of the reasons I don't is because we don't want her to be burdened by debt. I love this girl even if she doesn't care about me. I asked her to leave the house and come back when she was a bit calmer. She left the house and she is not talking to her father. He tried to talk to her and she is not speaking to him. I feel incredibly guilty. I should have handled it better. I got too emotional about it. I really can't blame her for believing what her mom told her. If my mom told me something similar about Dad, I would have believed it, and I can't blame her mother too. If you believe that your spouse cheated, wouldn't you tell your children at some point? I let her words get to me, and I may hurt my husband's relationship with her. I feel guilty as hell. My husband also thinks that I should have been calmer here and just let her vent a bit before talking to her. Update. I was overwhelmed with the amount of comments I received. I read most of them, but some of them were pretty judgmental and harsh on all of us. She did make up with her dad a few days after, but she didn't come over. Some people suggested that I show her evidence, but the funny thing is that I have none because we had no relationship outside of the office. He had an email address and a nice voice on the phone during my time there. I think we interacted in person maybe once a week. We were not even in the same department. I have shown her our resume. I have tried to show her our ID tags, but she thinks we are hiding our relationship. You can't prove a negative. My husband did have a conversation about how she treated me. I think it got through to her. She visited yesterday. She apologized for being short-tempered. I apologized for kicking her out the house. We had a nice dinner and we ended up talking. My baby got cheated on. She did lash out on me, but considering what she believed, she just took out all the hurt on me. She looked so heartbroken talking about it. I know how bad it is. When you love someone so much that even when they trample your heart, you just want to pick it up and offer it back to them. I had just gotten out of a toxic and messed up relationship with a cheating idiot when I met my husband. It was heartbreaking watching her go through something similar. I did cry a little. She let me hug her and that means a lot to me. I miss my baby. We have so much to work through. We are seriously considering having some family therapy, but I didn't want to spring it on her when she was emotional. My husband is planning to talk to her about it. Things are still a mess, but after a long time I feel like we are moving in the right direction. Not the idiot. I'm glad you made up, but it sounds like you do have evidence of you not cheating with her dad. Her dad can explain the real reason he divorced her mom, and you can order the information of your past relationship prior to her dad. You shouldn't have to go through that trouble or share that level of privacy to a child, but you both seem determined to remove the narrative, so it may be her to share. Not the idiot. Good update. It's clear that she was projecting her own insecurities and pain onto you given her misconception about your relationship with her dad. It's not an excuse, but it's good to see her starting to recognize it for what it is, while apologizing and opening up. It's a start, and family therapies are a good idea, although waiting is probably the smart call.